Hello everybody and welcome along to another edition of the Rebel Wild Ball. It's the final one for 2021, and there was some suggestion maybe that we should talk about spectacular events, if you like, that happened on the playing fields in Cork in the past year, but we've decided against that because I've most of them forgotten, to be honest with you. But first of all, I suppose we should acknowledge, the huge amount of county championships that were won by various clubs. Camogie have 3 adult county championships, ladies football an unbelievable number, 13 in all, and then for hurlers and footballers there are 16 championships. So we said we'd start and just look at maybe teams that added a little bit of value. As well as winning one county, they might have gone ahead and done something else. So those that won 2 counties in 2021, we'll begin with Ivlera. They won their the Junior Football Championship back on the 7th of August when they had a big win over Boherby. It was 3-11 to 6 points, with Chris Jones getting man of the match, getting 3-8. And would you believe that he followed that up with a man of the match performance in the Intermediate A football final against Mitchelstown, where they won by 20 points to 7. And I suppose taking this club into account, since I think it was the 26th of October 2019, and that's over 26 months ago, they're unbeaten, 14 championships win, and of course, like, could be all day talking about any of these clubs. One gentleman that I'd like to mention is Mick Lucy. Mick is, I think, about in 3 years time he'll need a fire brigade to put out the 50 candles. He's he's been with this club and playing with them. Somebody said he's actually older than the 4 selectors there. So for Mick and for all of the people back there, it was an incredible year. Then you had Liz Gould in hurling, who, if you like, did something likewise in that they defeated Harbour Rovers in the 2020 Junior A hurling final, and they scored 219 that day. They then qualified, they moved up the grade in, and they played in the lower grade intermediate hurling, and they got to the county final in the 20th of November against Kilbritton, and would you believe it, they scored 219 that night as well. And for a team that, hadn't won their first East Cork championship, this was a phenomenal achievement for them. And of course, it's kind of falling on what a lot of these clubs down in East Cork have done. Castlemartyr, another club that fit into this category, they defeated Russell Rovers in the 2020 version of the lower grade intermediate, scoring 120. They moved up a grade and won that as well, beating SARS. They got 119. They were a point short of their 120 total. For those 3 clubs, those 2021 will never be forgotten. That the year that they won, and these are small, relatively rural areas. Will it ever happen for them again? I would honestly doubt it very much. Then we have to mention the special achievements of 2 Junior B clubs that won 2 counties. Firstly, Belgooley, not in any order of preference, they won both Junior B hurling championships, the Junior B hurling championship itself, and they won that in Vols that goes through the divisional, and that was incredible for a club that was formed 47 years ago, I think it was. It was their first county championship victory, and we'll be looking forward really now to see how they'll get on in the Junior A grade. And then into the west, we've got Randall Oaks and the Ballinacariga based club, 3 county finals. And just think about that for a moment. They were beaten in the Junior B hurling championship by the aforementioned Belgooley, but they won the 2 football ones. Big victory over Goleen, and they followed that up with a great victory over Dripsy. I think they were in action like 1 weekend break they had since last May. And I was talking about that last weekend. They're nearly contenders for a certain category of Club of the Year. Awesome for them. Another little quirk in the way the competitions lined up. The quickest, I suppose, time distance, it was 8 weeks between appearing in a county final and appearing in a relegation final of the same competition, if you like. And that award goes to, if we use that term, to Russell Rovers. They were in the county lower intermediate final against Castlemartyr on the 20th of August, and 8 weeks later, in the 2021 version, they had to play Grenagh to survive. They did. They had a big week there over Grenagh on that occasion. Then you have counties, or clubs I should say, that will remember 2021 as the year that they lost one and they won one. Mallow in particular will be the one club where they were well beaten in the 2020 final of the scenery by Airog back in June. I think it was the 19th of June. But they recovered from that and they followed on, and they had a victory over St. Michael's on the 28th of November. So that was their, I suppose, memorable part of that year, if you like. Then you had Rugby. You remember earlier we told you that they lost to Ivlera. Well, they recovered. They had to go back into the divisional championship, which is always a bit of a challenge, and they qualified for the county final, and they beat Ballinhassig to win their first ever county adult title, for the small club in Rugby. I think they become the 8th club in the past 25 or 6 years from that division to the Hollow division win the county junior A football championship. Now we have to put on the black tie and the mourning garb for two teams I should say, that lost 2 counties in 2021. Do they like to be reminded of it? I doubt it. Mitchelstown, first of all, they lost the intermediate football, the intermediate A football championship. How do you get your act together? Against Rockchapel, and that happened early in the year around August time, and they followed that up then by another loss, as I mentioned earlier on, when they were beaten by Ivlera. So it's been a tough year for Mitchelstown, but they will be consoled, or some of them will, because quite a number of their players play hurling with the mighty Ballygiblin, which we'll talk about in a few seconds' time. And then the second team, Cork. And when I think about it from the football side of that club, that they lost to Knocknagree in the 2020 Premier Intermediate Football Championship, fell to Hollow Club, and then qualified for the final again, and to lose in such circumstances to Newmarket, where they conceded 3 points in injury time, and up to that Newmarket had scored 8 points. So yeah, they were 2 tough ones, if you like. But again, a bit like Mitchelstown, the Newmarket hurlers, or not the Newmarket hurlers, and they're hurlers in Newmarket too, but the Kanturk hurlers had a wonderful year, winning the Scenery Hurling Championship, and will play Premier Senior Hurling. So if you like, there's consolation in that. But when you think about teams that have lost counties, there has to be a special place for St. Michael's GA Club. Would you believe it? In the past 10 years, they have lost 6 county finals in the Premier Intermediate Football grade. And if you look at the scores in a lot of them, they only lost by the minimum. They lost in 2012, 2015, then they did 3 in a row, 17, 18, 19, and this year they lost to Mallow. I don't mention that in any way to point a negative figure at that club, because I think they're a top class outfit, and the very fact that they keep coming back year after year, hopefully their day will come sometime. But yeah, so when you're talking about, I don't think anybody has that record and still surviving. And then we have clubs that have added value by taking part in the Munster Championship, and we mentioned Ballygiblin earlier on, and next Sunday week they travel to Mallow to play Skinnereenca in the Munster Junior Hurling Championship on the same day that Corsi Rovers will play the Kerry champions Kilmoily. That game goes on in the Gaelic grounds, and then a week after that we have St. Finbarrs and Austin Stacks. There's a bit of grief going on about that at the moment as to where that game should be played. Seemingly they can't find a neutral venue, and the Stacks have offered to toss a coin. St. Finbarrs have refused that option, and to be honest, I know that they're getting a bit of grief in social media, but I think it is their right, and if they feel that that they'd be better off going to a neutral venue, it's a big final for them. And my God, Cork clubs haven't been very, very successful getting, there's a poor record. So rather than kind of pointing blame or anything at St. Finbarr's, I think they're doing what they think is right for their team, and the best of luck to them. I can't see why the Gaelic ground, by the way, can't be made available, but at Shinshgale. And then we have in ladies football, Mourne, what an incredible year for them. They are still involved. Well, still, they won the Munster Championship, I think, for the seventh time, and I think it's Dunboyne they're playing in the All-Ireland semi-final. Another club that's on Munster glory, if you wish, is Inniscarra Camogie team. You might say, where have they come from? Not in terms of how did they get there, but remember they lost the county final to Shandoon, and Shandoon can't represent Cork because of the fact that they're a divisional side. So on the Saturday the 8th, Inniscarra will play Scariff Unigol from Clare in the Camogie semi-final. So yeah, we wish them the very best of luck at that if you like. Moving into other sports that might have got our attention, we have the mighty world of soccer, and over the Christmas period, they say that people that follow this closely, the Christmas period can decide, well, if it does, it means Manchester City at home and host. Last night, their one victory ensured that they had won 10 matches on the trot, and they're now sitting pretty in the top of the Premier League. And before Liverpool play again, they could actually be 12 points ahead. Tonight, Manchester United play Burnley. United, they had the 2 games that were called off, and against, I think it was Brighton and Brentford, and then you had the 16-day delay. They came out against Newcastle. Oh my God, they were really poor. Lucky to get a 1-1 draw on that one. Van der Sar, their goalkeeper, was the man I think that really saved them. But anyway, they're playing tonight against Burnley, and Eric Bailey, I can't remember his name, their right cornerback or left cornerback, he was sent home to the Ivory Coast. They're practicing for their upcoming Nations Cup and the African Nations Cup, and they had to bring him back for their match against Burnley. My God, if they don't win this night, there'll be some grief. Then on Saturday we have a number of games, but the first one is Aston versus Man City, and Arsenal now are in their solid 4th position. They're having a really good run, but this is going to be a real test for them. Leicester, who defeated Liverpool the other night, playing Norwich, and Watford are playing Spurs. For sports fans, since Antonio Conte came in, I think he becomes the first manager in second to manage a sports team for 7 unbeaten games. So that's a bit interesting from them. On Sunday, the big game is going to be Chelsea versus Liverpool, and Chelsea, who drew again last night and against Brighton, and their manager's not really happy about this whole series of games over the Christmas period. So it's looking like Manchester City, but for Man United fans, the real big thing is trying to get up into that 6th position, and they'd want to start winning really tonight to do that. Do you know whether you've been following the darts or not? It's a competition that's played in London, in the Alexander Palace. I think they call it the Ali Pally or whatever, and it's the PDC World Championship. And there's been a bit of controversy because of the fact that a number of players had to withdraw because of the coronavirus, which has probably caused grief for them. Michael van Gerwen, Vincent van der Voort, these are Dutch players. I thought it was going to be all of them until Dave Chisnell, the Englishman, had to pull out. Gerwin Price, who's the favourite for it, he made a comment yesterday that he thought this thing should be called off. I think he kind of withdrew that a bit, that would be hard to reorganise it. But looking through the audience, I say you'd have some search before you'd find a guy in there or a lady in there with a pioneer pin. The 2 Irish guys, Steve Lennon and Willie O'Connor, are out. Well, that's a bit of a pity. But as regards, like these are professional players, obviously, and they play in the various tournaments during the year. But this is the big one, and the winner like the final will be held on Monday night at 8 o'clock, Sunday night semi-finals and Saturday quarter-finals, but the winners of it will get $500,000, and the runner-up will get 200,000, and if they qualify for the semi-finals, it's 100,000, and it goes all the way down to the players who started off in the competition. If they qualified for the first round and lost, they got 7,500. Now, in case you're under any impression that it's all that it's a big money game, it's not really compared to the other professional sports. But I think a lot of people watch it, and like the atmosphere at these, like if you turn down the volume, it's a totally different game. I mean, the players are, you can, for the real darts fans, you can appreciate their talents, but the crowd involvement in it is so important. Finally to rugby, and will we get rugby match played? God, it has been a pretty dismal time for professional rugby. You had the two big games called off on St. Stephen's Day, and hopefully now that on Saturday, New Year's Day, we have the Leinster-Ulster game is gone. The Munster-Connacht game, that's down for decision at 5:15, and to be quite blunt about it, this is a game that Munster will really want to win, insofar as the great victory over Wasps, you may remember that. Then they were a bit undercooked in their game against Cast, and they, I suppose, have been further rocked, if you like, back in their heads with the news that two main driving forces are going to depart the scene. Johan van Gran, the manager, and then one of the coaching staff who comes with a high record, and that's Stephen Larkin. So looking forward to that game, and hopefully we'll get Munster back on their winning ways again. Well, not that they have been winning, but I think it's important that they win that one against Munster, or against Connacht, I should say. So, folks, that's it. I was thinking earlier, we started this thing, if you could call it that, 70 episodes ago. So this is the 70th episode, and I don't know, honestly, why we do it at times. But if it brings a bit of crack to some people, so what? So yeah, I'd like to, take the opportunity to wish each and every one of you that tuned this way all the best for 2021, and whatever about sporting prowess, that everybody stays healthy, and that when we meet again in 12 months' time, that there'll be no absentees in the roll call. Finally, almost forgot, there was a programme on Rachel Blackmore which was so well received last night on television about her rise up and through the ranks, and seeing some of the footage from the pony racing. I don't know whether you follow it or not, but this is the Rebel Oak for jockeys, and in Cork it's really important. I know maybe they didn't have them last year, but pony racing has played a big role in the training of young jockeys, and I'm after forgetting some of them. I know there was down in Ahali's and places like Cork McSherry, and all the professional jockeys from Cork, I tell you, the majority, and that's the tough school of learning, and by God, it is a tough school of learning that they came through, and that one. But that was Rachel Blackmore. But tonight then there's going to be a documentary on the wonderful late Eamon Ryan, who was an incredible teacher, an incredible coach, a manager, and I suppose he's closely associated with Cork ladies football. But there was much more to him, and the programme is titled The Master on Voster, and it's on tonight at 9:13 TG Cahal. And he was full of these philosophical sayings that really meant something, but one that I heard probably says more about me than anything else. I don't know whether you get away with saying or not, but I think it was Breach Corkery that said about him once that he had a simple mantra in terms of fitness and in terms of players getting ahead themselves, and he said, look, once the heads were small and the arses were small, everything else would work into place. So I think that programme is worth watching tonight. So till the next time, take care.